What's up, everyone? It's Chicks in the Office with Rhea and Fran giving you that Friday energy on a Monday.
Monday.
Ooh, that's how you know it's Monday, when you cannot remember the day of the week. Friday energy on a Monday, everybody. We hope you had a great weekend, well relaxed, whatever it is that you did. I hope you enjoyed it. This episode is going to be dedicated to the Meghan Markle Prince Harry, or former Prince Harry, Oprah interview that aired on Sunday night. It was 2 hours long, and it gave a great inside look into what happens in the institution, one might say. Now, who is the institution? Sounds like it's made up of multiple people. Buckingham Palace, the royal family in itself, which I feel like the Queen's name has almost been cleared. I was kind of like on the, I think the Queen is up to some shady shit. But it seems like everybody else but the Queen may be up to some shady shit, is what I'm gathering from these 2 hours.
It's possible, but the Queen is also always behind everything.
She's involved, but
and the thing is that
maybe they're so scared of her that they painted her in a better light than everybody else because of how powerful she is.
Well, I'm sure they still want somewhat of a relationship with their family. It is Harry's family at the end of the day, but I think a lot of the inner workings of Buckingham Palace and things that people do in the name of the Queen, sometimes the Queen probably doesn't even know what it is, but they're doing it on behalf of the Queen and everything that the Queen stands for. But Sunday night, it was definitely like must-watch television, glued to the screen. Couldn't wait for that interview to start. 2 hours, absolutely glued, just could not look away. Really interesting parts of the interview. We're going to get into everything, every bit, every part of this interview. But before we do that, guys, a reminder that Rhea and I have been using these razors, and I gotta say the shaving cream I'm absolutely obsessed with, from Athena Club. You're gonna love it. Athena Club offers vegan and cruelty-free essentials that cater to your personal routine, no matter what that may look like. They have body care products, supplements, period care, all high quality and affordable products that save you trips to the pharmacy because it's sent right to you. Athena Club is clean and safe, and all the ingredients and materials for every product are listed on their website, in addition to facts, so you never have to question what you're getting. You'll never worry about running out of your go-tos, all of those things. You know, sometimes you have those moments where you forget. Like, oh God, I don't have a razor. I got to run to the store. No, this is sent right to your door. It's perfect. I'm obsessed with the razor, and I'm especially obsessed with the shaving. It's like a shaving foam. It has aloe in it. It's just so soothing. It's great for the winter time when your skin gets kind of dry and you shave your legs sometimes and you're like, oh my God, it feels kind of scaly. And this is a perfect solution because you follow that up with their dewy body lotion and you are ready to go. The products are amazing. So if you guys want to try their Athena Club razor, the Cloud Shave Foam, the dewy body lotion, whatever it is, these stuff's so good. And guys, the razor kit's only $9, which includes 2 5-blade razor heads, your choice of the razor handle color, and the magnetic holder, which is great because you just slap it right on the shower wall. It's right there, it hangs there for you. Stop using razors that underdeliver and switch to Athena Club. Sign up today and you'll get 20% off your first order. Just go to athenaclub.com and use promo code CHICKS. That's athenaclub.com, promo code CHICKS.
All right, I think it's time to get into this interview. It started off with Oprah and Meghan, and Harry joined later on. They're neighbors, Oprah, Meghan, and Harry, I guess. They live down the road from each other, but a friend of theirs lives in between, so they didn't do the interview at either of their houses. They did it at a friend's house who was nice enough to allow them to do it there. And by allow, I mean, when Oprah and Meghan Markle are like, we're doing this sit down interview at your house, you just say yes. It's not really a question. It's not a, hey, can we use this? It's a, please go right ahead and use my home.
Beautiful setting.
Yes, definitely.
Beautiful backyard, the chairs, everything. Everything looked great. Meghan looked beautiful. And it started off like, wasn't really sure what the format would be, but it started off with Meghan and Oprah first. And then Harry came in later, but at first was just Oprah and Meghan. And they started off talking about, the beginning of their relationship and kind of how those first meetings went with meeting the queen and dating someone in the royal family. And now Meghan claims that she did not Google her now husband, that she didn't Google him, that she didn't really know too much about the royal family, which is very fair. Like, I believe her on the fact that you could have known nothing about the royal family. However, I just can't imagine you don't Google. I can't imagine you don't Google them at least once. At least once.
Yeah, that's the thing. I actually believed Meghan throughout this entire interview, and we'll get to that. But this is the one thing that stood out to me that I did not believe. There's just no way that you are going to go on a date with Prince Harry. You're going to meet up with Prince Harry, and you don't Google him.
Yeah.
Like, I Google people who are not famous just to find out information about them. So I don't really believe that you wouldn't Google somebody like Prince Harry.
Right.
That's the one thing where I was like, maybe she didn't really do like a deep dive into it. Maybe she wasn't like, that's how I would be if I ended up meeting Prince Harry and he asked me on a date and then all of a sudden I was with his family. I don't know much about the royal family. So I feel like I would be in that position where it's like, I don't know much about them. I get it. They're the royals. I don't know how deep it runs. I get that sort of thing. But would I have Googled? Yes, of course.
Yeah.
I feel like anybody would.
Yeah. Or even after like the first couple dates to be like, okay, maybe I should check this out or look at it. But also because of the just name recognition, when you hear Prince Harry, you know who people are talking about. So at that point, I could also maybe see Meghan being like, well, it's Prince Harry. What do I need to Google? Like, he's the prince.
Yeah, it's like Harry Styles. Like, why would I Google Harry Styles after being asked out on a date by Harry Styles? I know he's Harry Styles.
Exactly.
What do I need to look him up for?
Exactly. Like, he's the prince. He's, all of that. But it didn't really sound like, and I don't know if this is Harry's fault or whose fault, but it didn't really sound like she had gotten the full royal family rundown, which I think is got to be Harry's job. You got to tell Meghan the deal coming into the family. You can't, she said that when she went to meet the queen, they were in the car. It was like they were 5 minutes away and he was like, oh, you ready to meet grandma? Like, do you know how to curtsy? It's like, okay, give me a little bit more of a heads up before you go to meet the queen.
I don't know how that was possible. I found that rude on Harry's part to not be like, hey, the queen might be there. We need to teach you how to curtsy.
Yeah. Yeah. So she didn't have any time. She's like said and it's funny because she did talk a lot about, seeing the royal family or similar situations in movies and TV shows and things like that, where it's this fairy tale situation. And I think that in a lot of the movies and fantasies, the fairy tales, there's always like this dramatic scene where the new girl's coming in and she like goes to royal school. It's like she's taught how to curtsy, she's taught how to get in and out of the car. Like there's all these rules, unwritten rules and written rules that they are taught. And it kind of seems like Meghan was like, I didn't really know how any of this worked. Like, I'm Googling the national anthem. I'm Googling these church hymns so I can sing along. Everybody just kind of expected me to know all of these things. And she did say she felt like she had entered the relationship kind of naively, because she's just like, I didn't really know what I was getting myself into.
Yeah, it definitely seems like there was a lack of communication on what she should or what was expected of her.
Yeah.
In some ways, it's like, obviously she knew getting into this, there was going to have to be some stuff that she would learn. But I feel like you think, oh, they're going to teach me, right? Like, I'm going to enter this family. They're going to show me the ropes. They're going to help me out. They're going to support me. And it seems like they didn't really do any of that. They kind of just threw her to the wolves, and they were like,
Yeah.
figure it out yourself, and you would think that, Kate Middleton or somebody would be like, hey, I've been through this before. Here's what you need to do. Let me show you the ropes. You got to learn all these things. But it doesn't seem like anybody was really helping her out.
Yeah. And it's tough because and she talked about this, Meghan talked about this, that she felt like the first time where she felt like, oh, okay, like I'm not going to be protected. Like this is how this is going to go, is when this tabloid story had come out after their wedding about Meghan and Kate Middleton getting into a fight, and that Meghan had made Kate cry. That's the story that all the press had run, and that it was over the flower girl dresses or something. And Meghan had made Kate cry. Now, Meghan clarified that and said that that was actually not true. The real story was that Kate made Meghan cry before the wedding, and that Kate had apologized and it was okay. And, but Meghan's feelings were hurt at the time, but they had reconciled. But then when the story had come out, nobody had set the story straight. Nobody backed her up. Nobody put out a statement being like, that's not true. That's not what happened. And the tabloids ran wild with it. And it's hard because I think, especially with Will and Kate, they have been through they've been through the press, and they've been through the rumors, and Kate Middleton has dealt with all of those things. She was Wadey Katie. She was like, Prince William was never going to propose. And she looked like this, like, one girl that was just following around this guy, hoping to someday become a princess. And I think because now she is a part of it, like she's a part of the institution, that it's like in her mind, you're in it now. Like, you protect the institution at all costs, because that's how William lives his life, and Harry is different.
Sometimes I feel like I need to watch what I'm about to say about the institution, because the way that they talk about sometimes I feel like I don't know what this institution is, and like all these different rules. They scare me even talking about it. Does it scare you a little bit? Like, do you feel like they're going to get you, almost like what they say about the Illuminati when they're like, like, be careful what you say.
Yeah.
Like, that's kind of how I feel about these people.
Yeah, there is definitely that element. And I think that they want that there, but it's just like the way that I guess Harry talks about it too really makes the most sense of just, this is how they have lived their lives for so long. They've had these rules. They've made no exceptions. They live to this standard, and you're either with them or you're against them. And you can't have like any in between. And so it's definitely hard, but it's like, once you, I feel like, become a part of it, you can't see what's happening on the outside. You can't see what's going on. And I also feel like a lot of this has to do with, and Harry talked about this too, that and so did Meghan, but it's like a symbiotic relationship between the British press and the royal family. Like some people in the royal family are so afraid of getting bad press or having bad stories out there about them. And to me, that seems like it's kind of because the royal family itself is just not as revered as it used to be. Like, I can't speak for the population of the UK, but there are tons and tons of people who hate the royal family over there. And there are people that still love the royal family. But I feel like because the tone has shifted so much against them in the last like few decades, that they're so over the top, like careful about what stories come out about them and what they put in the press and like what the press says about them and keeping that relationship, that they had no problem kind of throwing Meghan to the wolves and kind of being like, well, we'll tell her, we'll protect her, but if all the heat is on her, then nobody's really going to care about us.
Yeah, well, what she said really stood out to me when she mentioned how everyone is seeing the perception of it, but she's living in the reality of it. So
Yeah.
it's two totally different things. On the outside, the royal family is
Right.
glamorous,
We all romanticize it.
The princess, the prince and princess, queens. Oh, I want to be in the royal family. I want to be a princess. But then when you're actually living in it, it seems like it's basically hell on earth and you're being held hostage and everything's taken away from you and you're being controlled and you basically turn into a robot and a shell of a human being. Like, I just think that it's so fake. Like they put on this little act, right? And they're, oh, we do all these good things. We're the royal family. Meanwhile, they took away her driver's license, her keys, her passport. She left the house 2 times in 4 months. Like, you are literally being held hostage at that point. Your life is being controlled. That is not fun. That is not enjoyable. That seems like a miserable way to live your life. That seems like a miserable way to live your life with your husband and your child or soon to be children. Like, what I understand why they completely snapped and left, and not even snapped. Like, Meghan was talking about how she went through serious mental health issues where she thought, I don't even want to be alive anymore. She thought it was the only way out, her only escape. People wouldn't talk about her anymore in this way. People wouldn't make up lies about her. She wouldn't have to deal with this. She wouldn't be held hostage anymore, which is really, really sad and heartbreaking. And to hear her talk about it and just to hear how nobody helped her. And she reached out multiple times and Oprah said, well, could you just leave and go to like a hospital or institution? She was like, no, you can't just leave. Yeah. Like it's basically like being imprisoned by the royal family. Like, they just control everything. Why would anybody want to live like that? I just don't understand it.
It's hard, I think, from Meghan's standpoint or our standpoint, because it's just not like she lived a full, totally different life outside of this. So going from the independent woman that she is and how she handled her career and acting and the causes that she advocated for, and then moving into this role, it was clearly a massive jump and something that she was not comfortable with. And she talked about that and how she couldn't go grab lunch with a friend. It's like, you have to get everything approved. You got to go to the right places. You got to see the right people. And that was probably the most heartbreaking part of this whole thing, right? Is her telling Oprah, there were times when I just didn't want to be alive anymore, that she had these suicidal thoughts and that she went to the institution and that they were kind of like, you're shit out of luck. Like, there's nothing really we can do. You can't go anywhere. We can't help you. And so her talking to Harry about it and bringing these things up to Harry clearly made Harry think, well, like, how do I help this? How do I help my wife? How do we get out of this kind of situation? But it just exposes a lot of the archaic ways that the royal family has operated and how they still think about things. Like, if you watched season 4 of The Crown, there is a whole episode dedicated to Princess Margaret Princess Margaret going through her own mental health problems. And yes, I have to say, yes, it's a fictional show, but a lot of it is, based in somewhat of some truths. And this is true, that these people did exist, that, Princess Margaret went to go visit a institution, like a mental institution, to see that she had, like, there were family members of theirs that were in these places that they kept hidden from the world. Nobody knew they existed. In the episode, they had gone about it thinking that they publicly, like, these people were dead. But in reality, they were not. They were hidden away and not talked about, and mental health was never a conversation. And whether all those facts are 100% true, I don't know, because like I said, it's a fictional show, but a lot of those underlying themes totally stick out, especially with Meghan saying that she had gone and asked for help, which, as she has said, is one of the hardest parts of realizing you need help, is actually going and asking for it and being shut down when it just feels like mental health is not something they talk about in that family. Even Harry had said that he felt ashamed to go and talk to his family about this on behalf of his wife, because it's just not something they talk about. It's just not something they do. They're taught to just trudge along, that's just their job, and they gotta suck it up and do it.
They freak me out. Like they always have. This is why I was never really into the royal family. I don't really understand the appeal. Never really wanted to be like, oh my God, I hope Prince Harry like sweeps me off his feet and then I get stuck in this house where I have to abide by all their rules and then not live like a human being. Like that.
Right. Well, the historical aspect of it is fascinating, I think.
Well, yeah, I mean, history speaking, of course, when you realize that this family was made up and they are considered the royals and people just worship them, like, yeah, it's interesting in that way, but it's also fucked up when you think about it in that way as well. Like, it's not it's normal, but it's not, it's normal because people have normalized it, like, as the royal family. It's just history. It just has been this way for years. But when you think about it, it's weird. Like, it's just a weird thing. In my personal opinion, I find it very weird.
Well, it's because we don't have it, but so many countries do have, and it's not as big of a presence. The UK royal family is, because of their, I guess, the fame that has come along with it, and also all the power of the United Kingdom and all of that has made them such huge celebrities. But it's a weird now, because now it's a weird thing where, like, it isn't like they're just royals, they're also celebrities, but they're not. They're like, it's how Meghan had talked about, like, I thought I was just, I grew up in LA, I would see plenty of celebrities all the time, but like, this is just not anywhere near that.
No, but it's like a family, but a business family.
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess it's hard to understand when we don't have it, but I also still just think it's strange. Like, they're your blood, but also they control you and you're never allowed to step away from them. And then if you do step away from them, like Meghan and Harry, then you're completely shunned.
Yeah.
Just like, I get in normal, if you were to speak about it in a normal family, like, yeah, when you step away from a normal family, you're like people talk shit about you. It's like family gossip and whatever, but like, not like their lives are being controlled. Like, it's strange. It's a very weird thing. Like, I just think it's very weird. I understand it's been along for a very long time. I just have always thought it was I was never into it because I think it's weird. And now the more I hear about it, I think it's even weirder. Like, just the way that, like, Meghan talking about Archie, their son, how, he wasn't going to get a title. He wasn't going to be prince. He wasn't going to be a princess. Why was that? Talking about how dark the color of his skin would be. Like, just the things like this that are so disgusting that you're like, that's how deep this family runs. Like, that's how pure they want to keep this family, or, whatever it is, that they're just like, oh, well, what's the skin color of this baby going to be? And it's not going to have any security. Like, that's disgusting to do to a little baby who's not even born yet, first of all, but also someone that is going to be blood related to them, a grandson. Or whatever it is in whoever part of the family, because you say the institution, which family members is it? I don't know. So you don't know the complete blood relation, but you're just like, how do you treat your own family like that?
They're also just really stuck in very old practices. They're just, the queen is going by rules that she was following in 1947. Like, that's just, she's just been doing this for so long, and there's been no adaptation. There's been no moving into the future. There's been no more acceptance. Like, it's just been stuck in this same way that they have always been, and it clearly has not been working. And you can hear Harry talk about it, and you can hear Meghan talk about it. And not only was that hard for them to deal with, she was getting hounded by the British tabloids. Like, when Oprah showed the headline comparisons of headlines about Kate and headlines about Meghan, it's like it's crazy the things that people would write about Meghan compared to other people in the royal family, and how when those stories would come out, nobody would say anything or try and correct it or put out a statement or anything. They would just advise her to stay quiet and not talk about it. And it just built up so much to no end. The British tabloids, we've talked about this plenty of times, are ruthless. Like, I'm interested to see now today, right? Like, how I think in America, we all watched that and thought, like, holy shit, Meghan, how could this happen to her? Like, we feel so bad for her. This is terrible. She was treated so poorly, all these things. I bet you there will be tons of British tabloid pieces out this week that are more on how Meghan could disrespect the family and how Harry could disrespect the family. And I'm sure they'll say a million other things in that realm. But the British tabloids just absolutely destroyed her. Like, it was really, because I don't think a lot of people don't even realize, because we don't see it every day, of course, that we're not in that country, but it was so bad.
I am so tired of people always being like, how could you do that to family? She's taking Harry away from his family. Well, what if your family's a piece of shit? Like, what if you got some shitty family members and you don't really fuck with them anymore and you don't want to be involved with them? Then what? Like, then what are you going to say about that? The thing is, you say like everyone in America is like on Meghan Markle's side. I'd love to say that, but I tweeted today, like, if you don't believe Meghan Markle, then you're oblivious. And the amount of like older white men in my replies that are like, oh, yeah, there's always another side of the story. You're not going to listen to the other side. Like, no, the other side that just like puts out lies and will never actually like speak the truth and be honest. Like, do you really think the royal family is going to have a sit down interview and be as honest as possible without covering shit up? No, what are you talking about? There are some people who will say and be as honest as possible. And am I saying that I'm like 100% Meghan Markle? Oh my God, like live and die by Meghan Markle. Like, no, I'm not like the biggest Meghan Markle fan, but I can see clearly that she was struggling. Yeah. And it's very much seems like she's telling the truth. I believe her 100% wholeheartedly. I don't think she's telling one lie besides the fact that she didn't Google Prince Harry. It's the only lie I think she told. Otherwise, it seems like why would you make these things up? You don't just leave the family because you guys got into a little tiff. You leave the family because you are having thoughts about killing yourself and nobody cares. And they're just feeding into it, making you want to kill yourself more. Like, that's why you leave the family. So when people are like, oh, how could she make Harry leave the family? It's like, when you love somebody, she's not making Harry leave the family. When Harry sees that his wife is clearly struggling and is opening his eyes to what he probably, he grew up around. When you grow up around a certain thing, and you only live by a certain thing, you're only going to know that until somebody steps in and says, hey, this is not right. You feel comfortable living this way? I don't feel comfortable living this way. And then, of course, his eyes are going to open up and be like, you know what, Meghan, you're right. This is fucked up. Let's get out of here. It's not as simple as Meghan manipulating Harry to go against his family. It's more so like Harry's opening his eyes to seeing how fucked up they were treated.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. I think hopefully it changes people's perspectives on Meghan Markle. I think perhaps a lot of people who are on Twitter fighting against Meghan Markle weren't even watching. It's just like to say shit like that, because I don't know. It's hard for me to think that you could watch that and not sympathize with her in some way. But there was also so much criticism at the beginning. Like when she and Harry first got together, I was not like a crazy Meghan Markle fan either. I was more skeptical too, because I was like, okay, well, what's going on here? What's the deal here? And I think there was a lot of people that felt that way too. But when you watch her talk about entering this family and how that made her feel, and then also put that together with not having the support, and then taking a little bit of a dive, if you haven't, into what some of these British tabloids have said about her and put out about her, then it's like, okay, no one deserves that. Like, nobody deserves that. I don't know if you saw Bethany Frankel put out a tweet that was like, hey, cry me a river. I don't give a shit about how Meghan feels. Like, she signed up for this. It was a ruthless tweet for someone who has lived their life on reality TV and shares so much, to like give Meghan shit for doing an interview like this. It's like, okay, well, you're going to say that she doesn't deserve to tell her side of the story because she signed up for this when she married him. She should have just sucked it up. I feel like that's just ridiculous.
Yeah, that was an absurd tweet by Bethany. And people will say that. They will say, oh, Meghan knew what she was signing up for. I don't think anybody knows what they are signing up for when they marry into the royal family. Like, we got a 2-hour
We have no idea what it means.
We got a 2-hour interview and we still don't know what it's like to be in there. We got a little glimpse here and there of, oh, you really can't do anything without having permission. It seems like you can't even wipe your ass without somebody coming in to check to make sure you're doing it the right way. Yeah. But like, as for what the day-to-day is like, when you wake up, do you watch TV? What time do you eat breakfast? Like, there's no routine that was given out. There's no guidelines. You don't expect to join a family and then get cut off from all of your friends and realize that you can't even hang out with friends anymore. You can't even hang out with family anymore. Who would ever expect that? I mean, unless you know somebody inside the royal family for them to tell you that, you wouldn't know. And Meghan mentioned that one of Diana's best friends was actually someone she confided in, because I'm sure Diana went to this best friend as well to tell her what she was going through. And she seemed to be like the only person that was able to help Meghan through this, which was kind of nice to hear, because I don't know much, like I've mentioned before, but I do know a little bit about the story of Princess Diana, and a lot of the signs point to the royal family might have did something dirty to her, but not just talking about her passing away, but just her time there in general.
Yeah, well, they absolutely did.
Yeah, and so for that to be Harry's mother, and then for him to know about that, and then to see his wife go kind of through the same thing or something similar, you don't know exactly how their situations went. But it had to have been like the final straw for him, and for him to be like, my mom would be proud of me almost, like, if anything, at least I know that if my mom was here, she'd probably agree with us.
Yeah, definitely. All right, let's take a quick break and then we'll dive into Harry joining the interview.
So we've gotten a few DMs recently asking if we are still doing a FIGS code out there for our healthcare workers. And I'm excited to let you know that we are. My sister uses FIGS and she always talks about how comfortable they are. And when she found out that we were doing ads for FIGS on our show, she was so excited because she was like, I wear them at work. Everyone I know wears them at work. And they're the best scrubs around because they're not those boxy, itchy scrubs that you see people wearing, if you're in the medical field. Or I know my sister has complained about it before, but then when she started using FIGS, she said how much she liked it because of how comfortable it is. It has this athletic feel to it. It just feels like you can run around. You can, you're at the doctor, you're running back and forth, you're sprinting room to room. You got shit in your pockets. They have plenty of pockets for you and you are comfortable while doing it. You're not like begging and itching to get out of your scrubs at the end of the day, because I'm sure that feeling of just being in your scrubs all day long, you can't wait to take them off when you get home. FIGS doesn't make you feel that way. You feel comfortable in FIGS all day long. And like I said, they have pockets, tons of pockets, almost 10 pockets in some pairs, which is great for all the supplies that you need. Maybe it's alcohol pads, stethoscope, pens, pen lights, scissors, whatever it is. Your pockets are there and they have it covered for you. They also have a mix and match of any of the super popular core scrubs with each other for a quick wardrobe refresh. And their core scrubs stick around 365 days a year, never going out of stock or style. So if you are one of those awesome healthcare humans out there right now that want a new pair of FIGS scrubs, or you know somebody who uses scrubs, get them FIGS. Go to WEARFIGS.com and use code CHICKS15 at checkout for 15% off. Once again, that's Chicks15 at checkout for 15% off at wearfigs.com. That's WEARFIGS.com, Chicks15.
Then we had Harry pop into the interview and it became the two of them together holding hands. They also cut to a lot of footage. Oprah had also gone to their house. There was the chicken coop that they were running around in and chatting with Oprah there. And I think a lot of people are probably going to hold on to Meghan Markle making a analogy to The Little Mermaid. She's like, I don't really think adults watch The Little Mermaid, but it was on and I was watching. First of all, adults do watch The Little Mermaid, but she said that, Prince girl meets prince. In order to get the prince, she loses her voice, gets her voice back in the end. And she was basically using that as a comparison to herself getting her voice back, which was very cheesy. Like, I think there's some things that, people watch Meghan Markle and it's very clear, like, she is an actress. It's her profession. She's very well spoken. And I think sometimes that is interpreted as scripted or like, I don't know, not as sincere. Like they just kind of feel like it's all a game. But Harry joining this interview and speaking from his side of it too, I feel like shows even more how terrible it was, because I just don't think that Prince Harry goes through all this with his family if he truly and wholeheartedly didn't think it was something that he had to do to protect his family. And when Oprah had said, like, why did you leave? Like, what's the short answer on why you guys needed to leave? And he said, lack of support and lack of understanding. It's just, they couldn't step out of their own world for 2 seconds to try and understand how Harry and Meghan were feeling, especially Meghan. Like it was just not possible for them.
Right. And also when Oprah said to Meghan, were you staying silent or were you silenced?
Right.
And she said the latter.
Yep.
Silenced. Like, there comes a point in your life, especially which we mentioned Meghan, who lived a very free life beforehand. She was an independent woman, did whatever she wanted. Then you get into this family, you're being silenced, like she said. Harry saying lack of support, lack of understanding. What makes you want to spend the rest of your life that way? Like, I know that it's your family. I know people keep saying it's the family, it's the royal family. It's been this way for years, thousands of years. This is the way it goes. But at some point, somebody has to speak up and say, I don't want to live the rest of my life like this because this is making me miserable. And if that means being cut off financially by the family, which they were, then so be it. Like I think valuing your happiness and your relationship rather than being a part of the royal family should be applauded by Meghan and Harry, because if they didn't step out, then forever this is going to go on. Nobody's going to know what goes on behind the scenes. I'm sure, it's going to be this way for many years to come, that things will just get swept under the rug. The royal family will be the royal family. They do have people in it. Meghan and Harry are the first to step out. So it's like, at some point, somebody has to say something, though. So I think it's a good thing what they did. And I think that they are very strong people for doing what they did, because it had to have been very bad to do that.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that a lot of people are missing, that you don't just step away from the royal family. No. As much as there's all these rules and you can't do all these things and you have to live like you are a royal family. It's not just family, it's a business, it's an institution. You need to live that way. It takes a lot of guts and a lot of balls to walk away from something like that. And it has to be really bad. Yeah. And really bad meaning you want to kill yourself, literally, not just, oh, this is so bad, I want to kill myself. You wake up in the morning and you're like, I don't want to be alive anymore. You have to make a choice for yourself and to live a better life. So I think, they got cut off financially. It's not like they're still getting money from that family. They now have to live on their own. They live with what Diana has given Harry. I know that they have that. And, Meghan, she has the Disney contract, I think, right? Is there a Spotify contract?
There's a lot. There's a lot.
They have all these different contracts. They'll make money. They'll be fine. They'll be millionaires. They'll still make their money. They know that. But it still takes a lot to be, when you grow up the way Harry did, to finally just be financially cut off from that family and to live your life in a way that's like bringing back the simple joys of life. Like Meghan said, they just want to live freely.
Yeah. And it's interesting too, that they wanted to make it abundantly clear that they didn't quit. Like they weren't like, hey, we're out. Like they basically wanted a demotion. Like they were like, there's senior level, the royal family, and then, there's lower levels, and we wanted to be involved, but at a lower level, which was the first thing they had put out there, which didn't go over well. That's not what they wanted. The Buckingham Palace side of it all came back and said, if that's the case, then you're out. And when they went to Canada, not only did it become a money thing, Harry had said that, they were cut off from the family. Prince Charles was not taking his calls. And on top of that, they pulled their security. Like the security was a huge part of this interview too, talking about, like you said, Archie not getting a title and therefore not getting security, which, doesn't really make any sense at all. Like that's just not how it goes. Why would he not have the title? Why would he not get security? And on top of that, Harry himself, who has always had the security, he is the grandchild of the Queen and brother to William. And so for him to like get his security pulled too It's a massive statement. It's saying a lot from the other side, and of how kind of strained that was. And like Harry had said, it was very scary for him to say, like, we are in this house, not our house. They pull our security because of the tabloids. Everybody knows where we are. They know where we're staying, and they don't have the proper protection that they want. It's, whatever, they end up at Tyler Perry's house, and Tyler Perry offered them his security. But the whole, that's very fascinating too, where the aspect of security and the finances, because there was a lot of articles out this week that said that Harry and Meghan were getting paid for this interview, which was not the case. CBS paid Oprah's production company to do this, but Harry and Meghan themselves,
$7 million.
Yes, Oprah is the one who racked in the dough on this one. Harry and Meghan did not. And I think that a lot of the criticism that they're getting now too on the money side of it is like, okay, you're preaching about wanting to live your own life and be separate and start your own ventures and live this calm life. Why are you doing a tell-all interview? Or why are you like, okay, you signed a Netflix deal, you signed a Spotify deal, all these things that they have down the pipeline. But it's like, what are they supposed to do? Like, this is the world that Meghan knows. This is where her career has been always. And Harry has always more been about his philanthropy and things like that. So he's finding a way to combine those together. And Meghan is still being able to do her thing. Like, it's, how can you criticize them for taking these deals that obviously are going to pay them a lot of money when they have been financially cut off from the royal family, and like Harry said, are living off the funds that Diana left for him? In a very haunting way, said he felt like his mom probably knew something like this could have happened.
Yeah, the whole thing is very interesting, hearing about how he still talks to the Queen.
Yeah, right. Their relationship with the Queen seems good.
That's what's confusing to me, though, is like
Prince
when they
Charles.
keep talking about the institution, right? Is it Prince Charles? Is he just the huge dickhead? Because I think he is.
I think it's
the
him.
Queen. I'm happy to hear that they've had good conversations with the Queen. The way Meghan spoke about the Queen was that the Queen was always nice and gracious to her. So that was good to hear, because I thought the Queen was a shady bitch. I'm sure she still is, but it seemed like she's not the worst one. But when you hear about the Queen being the Queen, she's the fucking Queen, you're like, oh, the Queen is running shit. But
it just drives me nuts. Like, after everything that Prince Charles dealt with Diana, how could he not answer his son's phone calls when he and his wife are going through such a tough time and her mental health is the way that it is? I just can't fathom how much of a terrible person. Like, I've always felt like the Queen secretly was just been living for forever so that Prince Charles could just never become king. And I still really hope that happens. Like, just forever. Like, I really hope the Queen outlives him. I really do.
Right. They probably haven't fucked in 70 years. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
I'm talking about Prince Charles, the Queen's son.
Oh, sorry.
Prince
Philip. Definitely haven't.
Yes.
They definitely haven't fucked. Then.
Prince Philip is her husband.
Yeah. They definitely haven't fucked.
No.
But that just got me.
Yeah, it's late. We're recording very late.
That just got me. No, but I mean, the thing is, I was going into this thinking that they were going to blow up the queen spot like tremendously and just like really shit on the queen. And that's just not what happened at all. So I feel like maybe I need to like lay low on my blowback towards the queen, even though I know she's still doing some shady shit. I know that. But like not as much as the others in the family, it seems. It seems like she's hearing it from other people. But I guess it starts from the top, you know?
It does.
If the queen isn't speaking up, then it's her fault too. She could be as gracious as possible and be a nice person to Meghan and Harry. But if you're not helping at all, then you're also part of the problem. Because the queen being a woman should be like, this woman is struggling. I need to help her. But because she's 500 years old, she didn't grow up in a time where women help other women. So she's like, just deal with it.
And it's all about like the sanctity of the crown. Like I think the queen has a way of separating Queen Elizabeth, the grandma, and Queen Elizabeth, the monarch. And, you know, she can be nice and Zoom with Archie and send him a waffle maker for Christmas, is what he said on James Corden. But at the end of the day, she'll be fucking ruthless when it comes down to the crown, which is what happened. You know, she's the one making that decision. Like, well, they're out, they're done. We're taking their patronages, they're taking their titles, like his military titles, everything gone, done, over. And I don't know. I'm really stuck on the Prince Charles situation just because I feel like Harry, and he has said it so many times, he didn't want his history to repeat itself. And he also referred to their first tour that they did, their Australian tour. And that was interesting to me because also, if you watch The Crown, which Oprah said, because it was funny, like watching Harry say that. And then Oprah's reaction was like the same reaction I had because she also watches The Crown. And it felt like Harry was making a direct comparison to an episode of, you know, Harry and Meghan had gone on their Australian tour. And she was fantastic. She was a hit. You know, she did so well. And Harry said that may have drawn some comparisons. And literally my jaw dropped because and this is when Oprah was like, do you watch The Crown? Because he was thinking of how that kind of played out in season 4, Princess Diana going on the same tour, the Australian tour, and being the star of the show, like beloved. She did so well. She was so much better, I say, than Prince Charles, where all the tabloids and newspapers were writing about how amazing Princess Diana was. And it was less about Prince Charles. Like Prince Charles took a back seat. And it was just an interesting comparison to say that, like, of almost alluding that Prince Charles and other members of the family could have potentially got jealous about how Meghan was handling herself in this new role compared to how members of the family were jealous about Princess Diana when she entered the family. So it's the way he very subtly made that comparison was very interesting. And it's just, I don't know. The way he paused, like Oprah had said, you know, how's your relationship with the Queen? And he said, it's great. It's great. I've talked to my grandmother more in the last year than I probably ever have. And then she has, how's the relationship with your father? And heavy pause, just a heavy, like, where you're like, okay, he's really thinking about what the right thing to say is here. And what it came down to, it sounds like, is that their relationship is not great, but he will continue to try and do the work to have some kind of relationship with him. But at current times, they're not on the same page, which clearly makes sense.
Yeah, Charles kind of just seems like a stubborn dickhead. It doesn't seem like he'll be understanding to anything that's going on with them. Unfortunately, that's the way it's going to go. It will be interesting to see how the rest pans out for Meghan and Harry, because I do think it will come a time where enough will have been said. Maybe Meghan will write a book where more will be revealed. And they'll just be talked about as the people who stepped away from the royal family. And then that's really like, will Meghan go back to acting? What will Harry do? Will he, you know, start multiple podcasts and put them on YouTube? Who knows? Like they can really, I guess, do anything at this point, but people just want to know about the royal family. Like people want to know what happened with them and the royal family. And at least we got a little inside scoop. It's more than I think we've ever gotten from like an actual insider to the family. Like Prince Harry is as close as you're going to get. And the fact that they sat down, had this interview means shit went down and it's real. Yeah. And I think people who are not opening their eyes and ears to this are just being completely oblivious. I would actually be really interested if we have any listeners from the UK, their point of view on the whole thing. Because obviously us being from America, we're looking at it in a totally different lens than people who are in the UK are looking at it. So I really would be interested if you are in the UK listening to this, maybe you grew up there, maybe you moved there, whatever it is, hit us up and let us know what you think of it all, because I'd be really, really curious to see the different point of views, or maybe the same. Maybe some people out there do feel the same way that we do.
Yeah, definitely. And I think this is also a good time to mention, good episode to bring into this, right? Like we're talking about Meghan Markle and her mental health and everything that she had to deal with. And we now are partnering with BetterHelp. So, you know, this is obviously serious. This whole thing is serious. Talking about Meghan Markle and her mental health, it's all very serious. So we're going to get serious for a second. The last year we know has been really hard on a lot of people. And so that's why we're doing something new and partnering with this new sponsor, BetterHelp Online Therapy. We love you guys. We're open with you guys. You know, we've talked about it. There's ups and downs in our mental health, and therapy is amazing. There's definitely a misunderstanding, I think, of sometimes what therapy is. You think, I don't need it. I'm fine. I can go without it. Just do it. Therapy is fantastic. I think that if you've never tried it, you should just try it for your own personal experience and see how you feel about it, and then make a decision. Because it's just a way to speak about someone, how you're feeling. And like we said, especially this last year, it's been tough. And we've been open about it on our own show. I'm talking about how we've had our moments. And so we're very excited to partner with BetterHelp to reach out to you guys and let you know that if you are struggling, we want to provide you with a place to go to, an outlet to go to, that can help you in a form of therapy or something like that. So BetterHelp is a customized online therapy that offers video, phone, and even live chat sessions with your therapist. So you don't have to see anyone on camera if you don't want to. It's much more affordable than in-person therapy, and you can start communicating with your therapist in under 48 hours. Join the millions of people who are seeing what therapy is really about. It's always a good time to invest in yourself because you are your greatest asset. This podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp, and our listeners get 10% off their first month at betterhelp.com/office. That's BetterHelp.com/office. Now, I do want to end. I have like a couple more points I want to make. One is Harry talking about being trapped. I found that very interesting, because there was big reactions from Oprah. Probably she had two like big moments, right? I think it was when Meghan had said that there were conversations had about Archie's skin tone and concerns of what he was going to look like. And Harry saying he was trapped. Like Oprah was like, how were you trapped? Like, please tell me, like, give me a break. But the way he had just explained it is very interesting, because it's just like within those walls and within that family, you just don't realize you were being trapped until you're on the outside. Like he was like, I didn't realize that was happening until I was able to get some perspective and see it from the outside, and see how things were going with Meghan and understand more of the treatment of Meghan and a lot of the racism behind it, that he was like, I just wasn't really aware of that and aware of those biases. And then he had seen how the tabloids were right about her. He mentioned how, like, I think he said 70-ish female members of parliament spoke out in support of Meghan, and yet no one in his family said anything. And then he said that he feels like, Will and Charles, and they're trapped. Like he's like, they're in it, which is true because, Charles is next in line and then Will after that. So there's not as much, they could leave. It's happened before, but they definitely don't have that in their mind that it's an option. So it was interesting to hear him talk about how, like, I didn't realize how fucked up it is and how, like, our way of thinking was not right until I was on the outside of it.
Which I thought was a great thing for him to say, because I feel like not even just in the royal family, that is how some people think in their own families and in their own places that they grew up in. And especially like I mentioned before, like he did not realize when people say, oh, Meghan manipulated him into thinking that this is the way his family is. It's like, no, he just never realized it until he was brought out of it and was looking at it on the outside point of view, looking in, being like, whoa, it's a bit clearer now. It's now coming to me. Like sometimes that needs to be done. And it's not necessarily a person being manipulated, but your own self coming to a realization that your family and the way you grew up does not align with your views and the way that you think.
Yep.
So I think, yes, it's funny when he's like, oh, I was trapped. And it's like, okay, Prince Harry, you were trapped.
Yeah.
So it's like funny to laugh at, but I do understand what he's saying though. Like when you are just surrounded by one way of thinking, how are you to think anything else when you are just being told one way to think? Everybody around you thinks the same thing. Everybody's telling you to think a certain way. Why would you think a different way until somebody stepped in and was like, this is not how it should go? And then you're like, oh shit, yeah, you're right. This isn't how it should go. And then your mind, you are opened up to it.
Yeah.
So I feel like it was a wake up call for Harry and a traumatic experience for Meghan. Two different experiences, because Harry grew up with it. This is his family. He was born and raised in it, and more so stepping out, being like, whoa, everything I grew up with is kind of just like not real life. And their morals and their views and the way they think about people and the way they treat people is just not how I want to live my life. And Meghan is kind of the opposite, where it's like, I grew up being an independent woman and, being free and being an actress and being able to do my own thing and not being locked down by these things and realizing certain things are wrong versus right. And it's just like kind of the opposite, but the same for both of them.
Yeah, definitely. And the, kind of being a product of your environment, which is where I feel like Harry speaks about his family in a way now that's like, he's like, now I'm on the outside and I don't necessarily blame them as much because they don't know anything else. Like I've separated myself now. I'm out.
Right. It's like when you don't.
Like, you just like don't agree. You don't agree and have the same values as some of your family members, but they're still your family members. So, he talked about it with Will. Like the way he talked about his relationship with Will made it sound like, he's my brother. I love him to bits. Like he'll always be my brother, but I don't know. It didn't feel like they have a fantastic relationship right now.
Yeah. And it's like, it's hard to do that when you don't agree on so many things, especially like when you don't step out of your comfort zone, you will never learn anything. It's like, it's like growing up in a small town or growing up wherever you are. And then you step out of it and you see different things. You
hear other people's stories,
hear other people's stories, and you gain more of a perspective. and you become a bit more enlightened. And it's like, I grew up on Long Island. It's like, you think anybody on Long Island who doesn't leave Long Island thinks other than what people on Long Island, you know what I mean? Like it's anywhere that you grow up. If you don't step out of it, you're always going to think the way that the people around you told you. This is how we think. This is how everyone around us thinks. So I get where Harry was coming from. And like I said, I applaud Harry and Meghan for not like just going with it, because imagine how miserable that would be for them. That's not a fun marriage. They got together because they love each other and they want to have a great relationship and be fulfilled in their marriage with their kids. And that's just not going to be that way if they were to be stuck living the way they were. So it seems like maybe things are on the rise. Hopefully they ignore the British tabloids at this point, because I think they're going to be
I already saw a New York Post. I already saw a New York Post headline that said the Meghan Markle interview was full of bull. So it's
I just don't get, like, do people really think all these people in positions of power are just the best people ever? And that they don't hide anything.
Like, it's like not even that. It's not even like siding with the royal family. It's more thinking that Meghan and Harry are just full of bullshit, basically.
But why do people think? Well, because Meghan's an actress. She just has to be a fantastic liar,
right? That they're just like that. Really, they're just in it for the limelight, and they want to keep the fame. And
like, what? That's what is so bothersome about this whole thing, is that people really think that these people just want like their 5 seconds of fame. Like, they're already famous. They don't need 5 seconds of fame. This shit is real. Like, you really think that nobody was acting this way to them? If you don't, you're oblivious if you don't think that this is how they were treated.
Right. And it's so crazy.
Why wouldn't they be when this is like, it doesn't make any sense why people would think that they would make something like this up. They're already famous. They don't need that. They're already rich. They don't need money. They just want their voices to be heard, because for so long, there were so many stories made up against them, and they deserve the right to right the wrong that was put out about them, to put the true story out.
Yeah. The accusations of just like, you're in it for the fame, or like it's that annoys me too so much, because it's like, oh, once you become famous, you're not allowed to have any problems. Like, from the outside, it's like, oh, well, they asked for it. They wanted the fame. That's their profession, and that's what they asked for it. So they got to just suck it up and deal with it. It was kind of like how the Bethany Frankel tweet read, but it's just like, you don't know how it feels until you're actually in that position. Like, you could dream of being famous your entire life. Like, that's all you want to be. You just want to be famous. And then you get to that point and you gain the fame and you realize, wow, this is not what I expected. This is not great. This is not good for my mental health. This is crushing me. I'm changing who I am and whatever. There's so many different reasons. And for the media to just kind of shoo them to be like, oh, well, it's fame. They just, you can't cry mental health problems if you're famous. Like, it's just, like you said, it's bullshit. I totally think that Meghan was being honest and open with speaking about her experience and talking with Oprah about all this. And I think we can end kind of on a lighter note. They're having a baby girl, which they seem like they're very excited about. And that was a big point of the interview. Meghan said that she would tell Oprah the sex of the baby when she came out, when Harry came out, and it's a girl, and they were going to have Archie and this baby girl. And they said that they're done after this. They're getting their girl and their boy, and they're happy, and they have their dogs, and it's great.
Yeah, that is great. Good for them. I do hope that they live a happy life after this. I hope that they're able to get a peace of mind. I think maybe
pregnant.
Moving.
Like, could you imagine?
Yeah.
All the stress?
Maybe moving somewhere other than like the heart of Hollywood in California, probably maybe a better idea, but wherever they want to go, I just feel like that decision.
Right. Well, right. That is also why people raise their eyebrows, right? It's like, oh,
Right.
you want to look, okay.
You
went
want to live
Santa
in the heart
Barbara?
of Hollywood, and then it's a nice place, but there's so many other nice places in the United States that you can live in. But that's where they want to be. That's where they want to have their home. Maybe they have a lot of friends around. Maybe Meghan's friends are there, and that's why she wasn't able to see her friends, and now she can.
Yeah.
So maybe that's the place she wants to be. So I hope the two of them are happy, and I hope that we get to hear more about the royal family. I'd be interested to see, like, did they sit around on their couch and watch this tonight? Like, I really would be really curious to know the viewing experience and how it all went down. Are they cursing at their TV? Did they even curse? Like, I wish I knew more. Wish there were cameras. We need like a royal family reality show where it just follows them around, even though that wouldn't happen because too many secrets would be revealed. But there's more to be uncovered. There's way more to be uncovered. And I think maybe now I'm becoming more invested just because of how fucked I think they are.
Yes, that's definitely fair. I got a DM this weekend too that was very interesting, and it's something to keep an eye out. That there's a little conspiracy going on that if you saw last week, Prince Philip, who is, the Queen's husband, is 99 years old, and he was in the hospital. He's been in the hospital. They've said he's had some health problems. And then that there was some heart procedure that he had done last week, and deep conspiracy that they potentially either like Prince Philip, that they are prolonging his life so that if something were to happen to him this week, after this interview, it would take away from the Harry and Meghan interview. Like if on Tuesday, Prince Philip, they say like, oh, Prince Philip has passed away, or it is what it is. And then that would be the story. Like, forget about Harry and Meghan. No one would be talking about them anymore. Interesting conspiracy, because you saw all week the bullshit that they put out before this interview of, Meghan's a bully and the Buckingham Palace and this statement. Like, you can't put anything past them. And that made it even crazier, I think, actually watching the interview and then also knowing how ridiculous all those articles were leading up to this about Meghan bullying her staff and Buckingham Palace investigating the report.
I was talking to someone and she was like, she thinks that he's already dead and that they were going to wait to announce it like right before the interview, but that didn't happen. But
it's just, yeah. You never know what's happening. So just, for the rest of the week, I think we're all, keep a close eye on Prince Philip.